How's it going, everyone? It's Kenneth here, and I am heading down to the allotment on this Saturday morning. It's quite early, it's a bit fresh, and I think it rained a bit overnight, so don't really have to water anything. And there isn't actually that much to do down the allotment. Got a bit of tidying up to do, but today I really wanted to speak about something I mentioned in previous videos about me wanting to eventually be a market gardener. And I'd like to speak a bit about how I plan on achieving that. So if you've watched any of my other videos, especially from last year, you would have known that I was growing vegetables at home, and it was a couple of years ago that I realized that it's something that I wanted to do for more than just a hobby, but as a living. And the one thing I did know is it wasn't something I wanted to rush into. I own a business at the moment, and I didn't rush into that per se, but I was definitely went in way above my head, and it was a steep learning curve, and it makes things a bit more trickier when you rush into something that you're not 100% sure of what you're doing, basically. And things turned out okay. It's really difficult. I had to work really hard and kind of wing it a bit, but sometimes things go like that. But the one thing I did know is that if I wanted to become a market gardener, I didn't want to do the same thing as I did with the business I have at the moment. I didn't want to rush in. I wanted to take my time and be comfortable and positive that I was going into something that I knew what I was doing. To a certain extent, you always learn stuff as you're actually doing it, but B, that I was confident that it could be successful. And so that's part of the reason why I got the allotment with Matt and Katie. I saw it as a really good learning opportunity to try grow things on a slightly bigger scale than just growing it in pots and troughs and in borders at home. And so that's where I am right now, basically. I've got the allotment with Matt and Katie. I know it's something I want to do. I've sort of thrown myself into learning about various farming techniques that are suitable in England in this context, as well as on a small scale to make it to make it a viable living. You hear so much that farmers struggle and they don't really make that much money, and they rely on subsidies from the government, and that's not something I want to do. I don't want to farm on hundreds of acres. I want something quite small in the local community that's manageable and sustainable. So the question is, where do I go from here? Like I said earlier, it's not something I want to rush into, but it is something that I'm working towards all the time in small little steps. So at the moment I am busy building a little website, and I should have that ready in a couple of weeks. So people will be able to go see a bit more about who I am and what I want to do and how I want to get there. And it might seem like a silly thing, but a website is going to stand as almost like a front page of this project or this thing that I'd like to do. And for me, this whole new venture for a career is more than just about farming. It's kind of a bit like a lifestyle, really. I'd like to share what I do with everyone. I want the whole farm to be transparent and to be able to share how food is grown at a local level with local people who will be buying the food. I think that's an incredibly powerful thing. So I've got this idea, this dream, this goal, this something I'm working towards doing. I've got an idea of what it is and more or less how it's going to work. I don't have all the details ironed out, but I think sometimes over planning could be at the detriment to the project, because if you set goals and you set your mind on doing something a certain way, if you don't achieve that, you set yourself up for failure, basically. So having a business, I know that sometimes things don't always work out to plan, and that's why I just want to have a vague idea. So things might change, I might change, I might have a brand new idea and want to take things in a certain or in a different direction. So the next thing I have to really think about that's going to sort of make or break this whole idea of becoming a farmer is of course having a piece of land. And land is quite expensive, and it's not, you know, as easy as just coming across you know, something that's a couple of acres, especially in a sort of an urban or semi-urban environment. In the back of my head I have some ideas on how I could try find a piece of land, more than likely leasing from someone else, but these are things that I can't do right now. So the idea would be to start relatively small. I don't want to start growing like half an acre or a whole acre of food and have nowhere to sell it and find out that I've miscalculated something and it's gone all horribly wrong and all my crops have failed and you let customers down. I just think that's too much of a risk. So by starting off by maybe having a couple of largish beds of salad greens or radish or carrots, things that are easy to grow and things that I know that would sell you know, to the average person. In that way I feel that I'll be setting myself up for success. And you know, over the years you can keep adding more things as you find out what your customers want and as you've built up a customer base. I don't just want to sell to the public, I want to sell to restaurants and cafes and, you know, maybe in some local grocery stores. And so I don't want to rush into this, and that sort of plays into everything I've said so far. I'm not just jumping into it, I'm experimenting on an allotment, I'm teaching myself and I'm learning, and I just think that that's an incredibly valuable thing to have straight away, rather than jumping into everything head first. So a huge part of me wanting to become a market gardener and working towards that dream is patience. As you can see by what I've just said, I'm still quite a long way away, and I've been working towards that dream for over a year now, and it could very well still be 2 years before I even get a lot closer to that dream. But everything I'm doing now, I'm teaching myself farming methods, I'm watching other farmers who are successful and I'm trying to imitate them. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, I'm trying to learn from people that are successful. You know, I've got a business to run, like I said, and I'd like to sell that and get rid of that responsibility, because it's a massive responsibility. Anyone that's run a business will understand that. It's something that I can't just throw away. You know, so it all seems a bit all over the place and very vague, but all of these small things make a huge difference. Planning, thinking, getting a little website are all going to make a difference. So hopefully once I've sold my business and moved away from that responsibility, I can think a bit more seriously about finding a piece of land. And today's video was all about just explaining to everyone my thought process and how I'm thinking about achieving that dream. It's not going to be the same for everyone. Other people will have different routes to take, and there might be other ways to do it that might be better than the way I'm doing it. But the way I see it, the way I'm doing it suits me and where I am and my goals. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I hope that everyone's enjoyed this video and that they want to carry on watching my progress. And if you want to carry on watching, hit that subscribe button. I'll still keep everyone up to date with what's going on in the allotment. I do want to speak a bit more about this though, because there might be people watching this that could say, actually Kenneth, we can give you some advice or some ideas or some help. You know, the internet's a big place, and I know there's people all over the world that watch these, mainly in, you know, America and England, and no one in America might be able to help me necessarily, but I'll take advice. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it useful and it gave a bit of clarity about where I am with the allotment and with what I want to achieve. So hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. I try bringing out one every week. It's not always achievable because I've got lots of things going on, but hopefully I'll see you guys next week with another update on the allotment and what's going on. I'll see you guys later. Have a good week.